Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Well, yesterday's vlog, I have to admit, was a very long one. Actually, the longest one I've ever done, but the subject matter demanded it. So thanks to anybody who managed to watch the whole thing, but if you couldn't watch the whole thing, I forgive you. I understand perfectly it was a long vlog. But whether you watched it or not, I try, whenever I do a long vlog one day, I try the next day to do a shorter one. Today I have actually an extra incentive to do a short one because I'm recording this a day before Christmas, and I'm assuming that, well, the Christian viewers, you have better things to do on Christmas than to watch and listen to me for a lengthy amount of time. So I'm just going to do something very quick. I'm starting with a couple of comments. Well, actually, that's what I'm going to do today, respond to a couple of commenters that I received comments from overnight or this morning. The first one is from Lynn777 or Lynn777. I got a very nice, well, I got two of them. First one was Merry Christmas, Gene, and then a follow-up one, and Happy Hanukkah. I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that Lynn777 is a Christian, and therefore I'm not going to do a double reply. I'm just going to wish Lynn77 a Merry Christmas. And you reminded me of a interesting story, funny story, interesting. When I was living in New York, I remember one particular year I was either picking up or dropping off my laundry at the Chinese laundry down the street. And as I was picking up or dropping off my laundry, the, well, obviously Chinese guy behind the counter said, "Merry Christmas." And well, I'm Jewish. He probably was, I would guess, what, Confucian, but he said Merry Christmas, and I said Merry Christmas. And in fact, I was talking to my Muslim friend the other day on the phone back in New York, and I said, even though we're neither of us Christians, Merry Christmas. And he said Merry Christmas to me. So I just wanted to get that out there. I appreciate Lynn777 that you're wishing me a happy Hanukkah, but I just wanted to mention that I'm not one of these people who, well, one of these Jews that get bent out of shape if somebody says to me Merry Christmas. And in fact, I like the mangers, and I like, well, it's one of the things that actually bothers me a little bit is because, and I think it's the complaint of liberal social justice warriors, but I listen to, well, you're sitting in Starbucks or wherever, and you hear the Christmas music that starts on Thanksgiving and goes right up until Christmas, but it's all these secular Christmas songs that, well, even though some of them were written by Jews, such as I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas, Irving Berlin, but they're all these secular songs. I wouldn't mind hearing God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, or Silent Night, or Joy to the World. I like that music. I mean, the music sounds good. Since we're talking about Hanukkah, well, Hanukkah music, you want to hear all the Hanukkah music? I have a little dreidel. I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, then dreidel I shall play. That's it. That's all the Hanukkah music. So I just wanted to, well, I'm trying to make this short. So Merry Christmas, Lynn777, and to all my Christian visitors, I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Now I want to talk about another comment. I was going to wait till after Christmas to do it, but I like to strike while the iron is hot and while it's still fresh. Basically, I don't want to keep the commenter waiting if I'm going to make a comment. I often don't make a comment if it's just expressing an opinion, but I invite people to make requests, and Turbo Jones had asked me to look into NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and answer whether some of them are funded by governments. I replied in the previous vlog, I said, can you be more specific about which organizations you're talking about, and then I can look into it, because I'm not aware of any non-governmental organizations that are funded by governments. I mean, by definition, they would not be. But I got this comment, and I thought it might be something that's worth sharing with everybody in case they're in the same boat as Turbo Jones. So let me read the comment, and then I'll give you my response. NGOs is a foreign concept to me. Everything is an NGO other than the government. Why do they call themselves that? Are they acting as a government, but they want to convince us that they aren't by giving themselves this name? Why would George Soros be involved in them? Are they a way to make money? Is money laundering easy with NGOs? Can you tell us what you know about them? Can I tell you what I know? So this is what I know. Well, what I did is in the comments, I linked to an organization called NGO.org. They're connected in some way with the United Nations. All I'm giving you here is I'm giving you that link if you want to learn more about NGOs, but I want to give you a basic definition of what an NGO is. So I'll just read you this definition, and then I'll give you a couple of examples. So here's a definition, and again, I link to it. A non-governmental organization, NGO, is any non-profit voluntary citizens group which is organized on a local, national, or international level. Task-oriented and driven by people with a common interest, NGOs perform a variety of service and humanitarian functions, bring citizen concerns to governments, advocate and monitor policies, and encourage political participation through provision of information. Some are organized around specific issues such as human rights, environment, or health. They provide analysis and expertise, serve as early warning mechanisms, and help monitor and implement international agreements. Their relationship with offices and agencies of the United Nations system differs depending on their goals, their venue, and the mandate of a particular institution. Two broad groups of NGOs are identified by the World Bank. And that's something I should also just mention. There are more than one definition of an NGO. It's not hard set. I went with the one I just gave you because it's linked to the United Nations, and it seems a pretty good definition. Now, the World Bank identifies two broad groups of NGOs. Operational NGOs, which focus on development projects, and advocacy NGOs, which are organized to promote particular causes. And then certain NGOs may fall under both categories simultaneously. Now we can drill down to some specific types of NGOs, and I can give you some examples. These are not exhaustive examples. There are other examples, but this will give you an idea. So we have a BINGO, B-I-N-G-O, Business Friendly International NGO, for example, the Red Cross. An ENGO, environmental NGO, such as Greenpeace and the World Wildlife Fund. GONGO, government organized non-governmental organization. An example, the International Union for Conservation of Nature. INGO, international NGOs such as Oxfam. If you don't know what Oxfam is, they fight worldwide poverty. And finally, QUANGO, Quasi-Autonomous NGO, International Organization for Standardization, ISO. Those are some examples. If you want to make the distinction, I would say as an example of a distinction, we have in the United States government, we have the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, which is an agency of the United States government that promotes clean air, clean water, et cetera, et cetera. But you also have the Sierra Club, or you have here the World Wildlife Fund. These are not government agencies, but they do the same thing, or they act often as watchdogs of, say, the EPA or the government organizations. So I hope that would make the distinction clear to everybody who may not be clear about what an NGO is, I would just mention finally that it means not connected with a government in the sense that the organization is not an agency of the government, but as I mentioned yesterday regarding Israel, there are Israeli NGOs that are getting funding from the European Union. So it doesn't necessarily mean, this is where the debate about the precise definition comes in, because you have these NGOs in other countries too perhaps, but in Israel, that are funded by outside governments. But I take the definition to mean the organization itself and how it operates and how it is formed, and not where it gets its funding. It can also be funded by individual small donations, such as from you and me, sending, I don't know, 25 bucks, 50 bucks or whatever. But there are also organizations that can be funded by, say, George Soros. He is one multi-billionaire, and he can start an NGO, and he can, well, take for example Media Matters. Media Matters is a liberal press watchdog group, or fact checkers, or whatever you want to call them. I understand, I could be wrong, but that organization, that it was started by David Brock, but funded entirely or almost entirely or to a great deal by George Soros. Then there are NGOs that could be funded, as I understand it, and again I could be wrong, funded by foundations, say funded by the Ford Foundation. So the definition is kind of wide, but I hope putting that all together that I made it understandable, or at least relatively more understandable, what a non-governmental organization is. That's it for today. I'll just say once again, Merry Christmas. Have a very Merry Christmas, my Christian viewers, whom I like to think of as my Christian friends. And I'll look forward to seeing you again after Christmas. Oh, thumbs up if you like the video, but you can wait till after Christmas to do a thumbs up. You can do it to the next video, and ditto with comments and questions and suggestions for topics that you might want to put in the comments section. You can subscribe, and you can come back and see me again after Christmas. I look forward to seeing all of you again, and until I see all of you again, well, Merry Christmas and bye.